Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of And One. We got a state champ with us. We got a future Colorado women's basketball player with us. We got the point guard of the 2023 women girls basketball class. How are you tonight, Kennedy?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. If you want to, I'm sure everyone knows who you are, at least they should in the state. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you play.
I'm Kennedy Sanders and I play at Chaska High School.
There you go. So this is you think, kind of highlighting your basketball journey. So we always start the story from the beginning. When did you first start playing basketball?
I started playing in first grade when I did in-house for our Chaska Chan kind of league.
Nice. Did you play any other sports at the same time, or was basketball the first sport?
No, that was my first sport. My brothers were kind of into it, so I ended up joining. And then I started playing lacrosse in sixth grade, and then that's the other sport that I've stuck with.
So those are the main two. What are some of the similarities in lacrosse and basketball? What are some of the differences?
I'd say it's different just because of the positions. Obviously, there's two different sides and you can pick. I play both just because I like offense and defense. But it's really similar within the plays and just kind of how the offense is set up. It's very spread out, kind of the cutting aspects and screening is the same.
So how has lacrosse helped your basketball game?
I would say definitely the conditioning has helped a lot. Being able to play for longer spurts during a basketball game, and then just kind of the hand-eye coordination. It's much different, to catch with a stick, but I feel like it's helped a lot. It's so much easier to catch a basketball than it is to catch a lacrosse ball.
And I was gonna say physicality. It doesn't take it takes a lot to knock you off your stride going to the hoop. So I feel like the physicality might help there too.
Yeah, a little bit.
So then in terms of that, have you always played for the Minnesota Fury or did you kind of move over to there at a certain point?
I've always played for them. This was my eighth year playing for them.
Wow. So what are some of the favorite moments playing for the Fury? Places that it's taken you for AAU?
I would say my favorite thing is just traveling with the team. I've been with a lot of the girls for a lot of years. Just being with our coach through the couple years we had Blake for a while, Matt for a while, and then we had Nick our last year. But just building a relationship with them and then with our teammates, it's really fun to get to know both the older kids and the younger kids and just seeing them develop and graduate and just being able to see what they do when they leave the Fury is really exciting.
And then what would you say the differences and the expectation from you from AAU to high school? Is there any differences? Do you pretty much, kind of have the same kind of expectation as yourself as a player?
I would say it's a little bit different. My high school is more of play sets kind of thing. And AU, we push the ball a lot more. And I think it's a good mix of both because I have to be more of a leader on my high school team as well as the Fury. But Fury, they're all playing higher developed, with a higher developed team. So it's a lot different with I don't have to help as much with certain training things, whereas high school sometimes I have to help the younger kids with certain things that they don't understand because they're just not as developed yet.
And so either AAU or high school kind of overall, how would you describe your game to someone if they haven't seen you play? How would you describe you as a player?
I would say that I'm a very fast player, but I like to push the tempo a lot. So I think I'm a leader as a point guard, obviously. I like to kind of drive more and look for the dump before I like to shoot it. But definitely a faster tempo player and just I like to play defense a lot. So I would say that I'm kind of everywhere.
I have a feeling I know what one of them is, but what are some of your highlights from your high school career?
Definitely our state championship my sophomore year. But honestly, we went to the Park Center tournament. We've got played in that a lot of years, and we stayed in a hotel the first year that we played there. I would say that that was one of my really fun memories too, just because we got to stay in a hotel together and then go get ready and play the game later that day.
So on the way to the state championship, you kind of made some history, or at least pretty historical win in beating Hopkins. What do you remember from that game, kind of the emotions before, or for you and the team, was it just focus on the game, focus on one play. We're not looking at it as too big.
Definitely going into it, we knew that we were the underdogs. So obviously we were all pretty nervous, but at the same time we were like, okay, we have nothing to lose, so just go in, give it our all, and see what happens. And in the game, it was the best game I've ever played in before. We we got up by a lot. I think we were up by like 10 points at one time. But it was just so exciting. And I wish it wasn't COVID, so we had more people there. But just like hearing the fans in that gym was just so much different than playing in a regular high school gym.
And I've heard a lot of people say they felt that one of the things that kind of benefited Chaska that year was, because the game you had scheduled with Hopkins earlier in the year got canceled due to COVID.
Mhm.
Kind of caught them by surprise. Do you agree with that? That was kind of like they didn't really know how to kind of strategize for you, how to strategize for Mal, how to strategize for Kaylee. Do you kind of agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I think honestly, it was in our benefit that we did not have to play them before we played them in the state semifinals or whatever.
And then then you go to the state championship and it's a completely different game. It's a low scoring, knockdown, drag out fight. What do you remember kind of like during the game? Are you just kind of in a zone, or do you remember like in the game being like we're playing for a state championship right now on the court?
That game was a lot more different. I think we went into it definitely more scared because they just matched up with us really well, and we knew that they played slow. So it was just a big change, and we didn't have as much time to prepare. We had a week to prepare for the Hopkins game and only one practice for the other game. I remember being pretty scared because I had two fouls early in the first half, so I sat most of the first half. But my teammates really stepped up. Kelsey Williams had a bunch of big baskets for us, and when it came down to the wire, it was really exciting because we had our game-winning play, and then they ended up getting a shot off. And I remember watching it, and I was like, "Please don't go in," but it all.
So, in AAU in high school, you played with some pretty big time players. Who were some of the best players you've gotten a chance to play with, in your opinion?
Obviously Mal, I love playing with her. It'll definitely be weird this season not playing with her. I've played with her for so many years. I would say Kaylee Van Epps. I loved playing with her, and she just did everything you needed her to do. So it was amazing to watch her, and she was just so helpful to me. I played with her when I was in second grade, and just like seeing her game develop and like having her help me with my game develop was also super cool. And then obviously Olivia, uh, I'm so happy just how everything has worked out for her, and she's such a great kid. So it's just been able like amazing to see that she's such a good person for how great of a player she is. You don't always see that. And then obviously some of the 25s, it's just honestly everyone on the Fury and both my high school team have just been amazing to be with.
So I heard Kaylee and Mal. So when they play each other, I think the November 10th, will you be in the barn if you don't have a game or practice that day?
Yeah, our whole Chaska team is planning on going.
There you go. And so that's who you played with. Who are some of the best players you've ever played against in your career?
Um, I would say Keani Lockett. I loved playing against her just because she was so fierce, never really like gave up on anything. Um, and then I would say Amaya Battle. I love watching her as a point guard. I think she really helps set her team up for success.
And there's two different strategies. Kiani's kind of fast, quick, going, shooting. Amaya's a little more methodical when she goes. So you kind of have to prepare for both.
Yeah.
I remember when you guys played Minnetonka in the double overtime out of St. Michael Albertville. That was a long game, and you looked. I will give your coach credit. You looked exhausted, and she won't even look at you when you said, "I need to come out." So there's where the stamina came in from.
Mhm.
So if that helped. So being as I call you the point god because I've never seen you make a bad pass or a wrong pass. That comes with some recruiting. You're committed to Colorado. What made Colorado stand out over, I'm guessing, the tons of schools that would like Kennedy Sanders services?
Well, the first time I went to visit, I love the campus. Obviously, it's so pretty, but really the coaches I connected with so easily. It felt so normal being with them. And just like the things that they talked about, I could feel that they like understand what kind of a player I was, like the expectations I had and everything. And I just thought that I would fit in perfectly with like everything that they talked about when I was there.
And I asked Olivia this, and I'll ask you, as being a top-rated player that with all the attention, what's your advice to younger players when they're getting through the recruitment process so that way they control their own recruitment and kind of don't let things get out of hand?
Yeah, I would definitely say don't let other people kind of make your decision for you and go on as many visits as you can because that was honestly the deciding factor for me. Being able to see and like feel the campus that you're at really helps. It's one thing talking over the phone and hearing like everything. Obviously, they're going to say what you want to hear. So it's much different, like spending a whole day with them and seeing what the team is like and kind of how you would fit in.
How did I know we talked about, you mentioned with COVID. How did that affect or help or hinder kind of your recruitment process? Did it at all, or did it kind of help you? Did it kind of help not having the craziness of the world coming at you full blast?
It was definitely a little bit hard since we were shut down some of the time in between, but I don't think it affected us too much. A little bit of the recruiting process, obviously, and just like the amount of people that some teams were taking in our class was a smaller amount. But
And so we have a high school season coming up. You have one final year. What are the goals and expectations going into it? You as the point guard, I mean, I've heard a lot of people say you can never count out a team led by Kennedy Sanders. So what are your goals and expectations?
honestly, to have a fun time, I think last season, just because it was after our like state run and everything, it was kind of stressful and we weren't like as close as we were the year before. And I think this year we have a really close group of girls. So I think it'll be really fun, but just honestly to take every moment in because it's going to be most of our last years. So just really spending the time together and just having fun.
Who is someone on the team, one or two names that people should make sure that they should know after this year from Chaska, besides Kennedy Sanders?
I would say, well, obviously everyone, but I would say Ashley and Anna, there are other two captains on our team, and they're really good leaders, and I think that they'll really help us this year.
So you spoke about, Kaylee, you spoke about Mal, you had Kendall Carmen last year. What did
Mhm.
you learn from them as leaders that you take kind of going forward with you as a leader this year, that point guard, that senior like leader from that position?
I learned that it really matters how you interact with the younger girls, the ones that haven't played before, because it's a lot different for them, and it's harder to kind of get your team to like mold together if they're like nervous about things or don't feel comfortable with you. So really just making sure that everyone feels welcome from you. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned.
So are you someone who watches the NBA, WNBA, college basketball, or not really?
I do not really know.
So I was gonna ask, are there any players, high school, anything that you have modeled your game after, even high school, older kids at Chaska?
I wouldn't say modeled my game after, but when I was younger, I really liked watching Rachel Bannum. She was probably my favorite player.
The shooter. So and then play the same position as her.
Mhm.
So we won't take all your night. We'll do this. When someone watches Kennedy Sanders, what do you hope that they take away from your game? Think about you as a player. What do you want someone to think about when they watch Kennedy Sanders play basketball?
I would say that I control the tempo and I'm really a team player. That would honestly be the best thing I would say because I don't want to seem like a selfish player or that like everything is about me. I want it to be about my team that I play for. That's really what I care about.
I like it. I would never say you're a selfish player. I think almost sometimes you pass too much, but that's me as a fan coming from that perspective. I want to say thank you, thank you. Like I said, I'll be in the Chaska gym because we know that we have Kennedy Sanders leading the team, and as everyone says, you have a chance when you have Kennedy Sanders leading your team. So I think you're in for a great year. That section you're in is a dogfight, but no one you'd rather go to battle with than Kennedy Sanders. So good luck this season. Thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing you in the gym soon.
Yes, thank you so much.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.